Hello everyone, and welcome to another video about Thomas items. Now I would be filming this outside today, but unfortunately... yeah, I don't think Mother Nature's being all that kind today. Anyway, so the other day, which turned out to be a manic Monday, as I always seem to like referencing that song from the Bangles, I was out at Mount Maunganui and ended up at a shop that sells a whole load of like second-hand toys, and sometimes they get Thomas items in stock. And by the way, I should add that's the wooden James there and the Tomy Steaming Thomas are not from the shipment of items that I got. Well, it's not really a shipment, but hopefully you get the idea. And there's also the dog here in the background. That is our Bessie, and she's been with us since 2011. Anyway, so these I've been getting some like second-hand Thomas stuff from this shop for long enough for them to be reasonably familiar with me and the sort of things I like. And so the other day we went round there again because I'd heard that they'd got some decent items in stock, and because I'm trying to save up for a trip, because I'm saving up for a trip to Wellington, I'm not trying to like spend crazy amounts of money, as it were. And so yeah, now I might as well show you what I've gone and bought. So, but the first thing I'll say is that the total cost of these items was exactly $60.60, which I thought was quite funny because 6060 is the number of a preserved Canadian steam locomotive. If I can find a picture of her, I'll put her on screen now. So this is the Canadian National U1F class number 6060. At least I'm pretty sure she's a U1F. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so here's the first item that I got from this little shop. This is the rather unusual. It's this strange battery-powered Thomas from the that for whatever reason was part of the wooden railway line. But the irony is that this thing is not wood. It's not wooden at all. It's pretty much all metal, aside from his mug is plastic, and I think the wheels are plastic as well. Interestingly, the middle wheels are floating, and there's actually no axle there at all. But whereas there obviously is for the driving wheels. And just notice that it appears to have like rubber traction tires built into the wheels, and from like sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. I remember a very long time ago, I think Leokimvideo featured this thing in one of his videos, where he also looked at the wooden like Thomas and jet engine combo pack, and I remember him commenting on how heavy this thing is, and like how he was saying it's very curious that the powered models are not made of wood. And yeah, it really does baffle me. It's like, why was this made for the wooden railway line, despite the fact that it's not actually made of wood? Unfortunately, this particular battery-powered Thomas that I've got, as far as I know, he doesn't work. But I still wanted to get him for the sake of curiosity. Plus, I've been wanting one of these ever since I saw Leokimvideo's video on the subject. Unfortunately, he does look a bit banged up. Like there's a lot of paint missing, but I still think it's worth having a look at this guy, because he's certainly quite a curious piece. I think this black dot in the back, it's either a lug to like hold the body on, or, well, to me I think that's meant to be where his lamp is, but not much else I can think of to say about that guy, so I might as well put him on the track. Oh, also, for comparison's sake, here is a conventional wooden Thomas. This is I think the 2003 Learning Curve version. that rather... I don't know, I've never really known what to make of this face, especially when he's got no eyebrows. Oh well, that's what you normally get for the wooden railway line, of course. And this guy is actually made of wood, primarily, well, for the most part. Anyway, the next item is also from the wooden railway, but a lot more recent. This is, of course, Rosie, and I think, according to the licensing detail, which you can find, which is under the wheels on these things, although I don't know if you can see it there. This is I think this one's licensed to 2012, and actually I'll just check that just to be sure. Yeah, it's licensed to licensed to 2005 and 2012 in Mattel, so it's one of the somewhat later TWR items. Even though I think the line was axed to 2017 in favour of Thomas Wood, foreshadowing for another thing to look at here. This is, of course, Rosie's original livery, because she first appeared in the season 10 episode Thomas and the Birthday Mail, and back then, of course, she was painted in this pink livery with the white detailing on the side tanks and the cab. And I remember in season 21, which was long after they switched to CGI, for whatever reason, Rosie was actually repainted in a dark red with NWR lettering on the tanks and the number 37 on the cab. Apparently, there was meant to be an episode explaining why Rosie got repainted, but that was apparently axed to try and make way for Big World, Big Adventures, and Christ, that's a... Well, to put it lightly, I think Big World, Big Adventures was the second worst decision Mattel ever made with Thomas, with the worst being that horrible reboot. But the less I say about that thing, the better. In fact, I've actually gone and made a whole video about why I don't like the reboot, which, if I remember to do so, I'll put a link to it in the top right corner. Anyway, there's not really that much else I can say about Rosie, aside from the fact that she is based on the USATC, or United States Army Transportation Corps, S-100 class 060 tank, which I think is known in the UK as the USA tank, but I just prefer to call them S-100s. Yeah, they were a batch of 060 tank engines that were built during World War II, I believe, and after the war, they went around to all sorts of different countries, including England, and the Southern Railway bought about 14 of them, and they used them as shunters at Southampton docks, which is kind of fitting because Rosie's basis went to Southampton and replaced Thomas's basis, because by this time the LBCR E2 tanks were now running as dock shunters in Southampton. And in about 1962, I think British Railways brought in a class of diesel locomotives to replace the S100s and E2s, which was the Class 07. And if you know who Salty is, then you know what a Class 07 is. Right, so that's the 2012 era wooden Rosie. And the dog doing something silly with her head. Okay, I'm not sure what the dog's up to, but I suppose it's got a time as any to try and restart the recording, since this camera can only record footage a maximum of 10 minutes at a time. Right, I'll see you in a bit. Well, I hope you enjoyed that irrelevant transition scene with the Metro North Railroad M7A, and now we move on to the final two items I want to show you today. First, out of those two, is this. It is the, if I can sort out the focus, Not the ratty car outside that doesn't work, the focus of the camera. This is the dogs shaking around for some reason. No, this is Flora. Well, the take and play Flora. You can tell because this was back when they had the smart magnets that could work both ways. So in 2015 they switched to the dumb monopole. I think there was the monopole magnets that would only work in one direction without referencing that awful British boy band. Because they were the magnets that the 2015 take and play had reminded me of like these old or like the wooden railway magnets. Because again, that was because these are sort of famous for only working in one direction. Oh, dog's back. Yes, she does like that turquoise blanket. Anyway, so Flora is interesting because I'd say in the grand scheme of things, she's probably one of the more forgettable characters. Because she was part of that curious batch that were like from season 12, so 2008, where she was a one-off in the sense that she only appeared in one episode, namely the one called Tram Trouble. And another one-off from season 12 that I've also got as a take-and-play toy is Hank, who is a Pennsylvania Railroad K4 Pacific. As for Flora's specific basis, I honestly don't know, but I know that she's not based on the LNER J70. And of course, if you know anything about Toby, you'll know that he is based on the J70. Actually, I would have thought it would be quite cool if Flora was based on the likes of the LNER Y6. Which does look a little bit like the J70, except the J70 is an 060, while the Y6 is an 040. Actually, Flora's clearly not a Y6 then, because she's got 6 wheels. And as for, I remember her only episode, I think most of the time we saw her, she just had a CGI face, but there was one shot of her, I think, at Brendan Docks, where they just showed a static clay face. Because season 12 was that really strange era when they were using a hybrid, or they were still using the original, like filming with the original models, but the faces on the locomotives and wagons and road vehicles and even the people were CGI in close-up shots, but for distance shots they still used the old static faces. And I remember I always found that really confusing because it was so inconsistent. Just seeing one shot the engine had a clay face and then the next it was an unsettling CGI face. And if anything, it's good. I think it's good that season 12 was the only season to use that weird style. Because from Hero of the Rails onwards, it was full CGI. And then All Engines Go happened and it went to 2D. Of course, the fact that they show the animation, or the style of it, is, well, the fact that it's 2D doesn't bother me, but what I hate about AEG is the hideously cartoony nature of the animation. Anyway, I noticed that Flora's thing says Soda or tramways on the top, and reminds me of one of the, I forget what it was, but yeah, no, I remember in the Tram Trouble episode, I think the Fat Controller wanted to open a new line or something around the Great Waterton area, and he wanted to get another steam tram in to help Toby, and I remember that Toby was actually quite afraid because he thought that Flora would replace him, but in the end that didn't end up happening. And I always find it unfortunate, and actually somewhat bizarre, when you get these characters that appear in just one episode and then they get a whole load of different toys made on them. So like, think Dennis, who else? No, not Molly, because she appeared in multiple episodes. Yeah, Dennis. Well, the only ones that come to mind, like Dennis, Hank, Flora, and Colin. Not Colin Hay from Men at Work, I mean the green crane that worked at the wharf. Anyway, there's not really a lot I think I can really say about Flora, so I'll just put her over here on this conveniently placed take and play track, and adjust the focus again. Right, I think the last item to look at is quite, well, it's not really all that big, but I think I might need to adjust the camera for that. I'll see how it goes. Either way, I think it's time for another transition. Or, as I might say, a transition. this certainly wouldn't be the first time I've seen the cat try to get behind the telly. Maggie! This would be one of those times where it's difficult to get her attention. Sometimes all you need to do is just say her name and she'll pop her head up. That's our Maggie. Well, I hope you enjoyed that irrelevant transition with Maggie the cat and the Amtrak ACS-64 speeding past Canton Junction. And now we move on to the last item we'll be looking at in this video. A Thomas Wood set. And I remember, like, in 2018, when this stuff was new, I would go to, like, Toy World, because that was the only shop where you could get Thomas Wood stuff here in New Zealand. And I remember seeing this particular set, as well as, like, a few others, like, I don't know, the figure 8 set, you know, the one with Thomas and Bertie, where for some reason Bertie had that huge chunk taken out of him. Hanny and Clarabelle suffered from the same fate, but the Tommy versions that you're seeing there were made when the design of the merchandise still made sense. The one thing I remember about the Thomas Wood stuff was, like, how horrendously expensive it was. And I don't know what, like, the original price of this set would have been, but I paid $34.90 for it, which I realise that that's quite a lot to pay, but at the same time, but for comparison's sake, one, like, normal Thomas Wood engine, like this one, was, I think, $20. Although I'm comparing, like, the full price of this to essentially a second-hand price for the set. No, BC, I'm not talking about you, so why are you looking over here? Anyway, this is, of course, I believe it's just called the Animal Park set, and it's one that I remember seeing XTremeTrainz look at in one of his videos, and if I remember, I'll put a link to it up there again. And if you don't know who XTremeTrainz is, I recommend you have a look at his channel, because he's an Australian guy who also looks at Thomas items a lot more so than I do. He was certainly like Leokimvideo. He's certainly a big influence on me to do my own videos about Thomas toys. Anyway, he looked at this same set as a comparison with, like, a Thomas Wooden Railway starter set, and I'm not going to spoil what he says about it. And if anything, I'm just going to take this lot out of the bag and see what I think of it myself. Hold on a second, and actually, come to think of it, I might need to, I'll need to adjust the camera, I think, because I might try to set this set up on the table. And here's the stuff that came from that little bag, which was a little bit easier to untie and open than I thought. So yes, this is one of those tiny, like, starter sets that I've pretty much got no experience with, especially with Thomas Wood, because I never actually got any of its track when it was brand new. But anyways, this is a bizarre little set because, well, because it's Thomas Wood 2018. Anyway, in terms of motive power, you get this thing. If I can adjust the focus. Yeah, this is essentially just the standard 2018 Thomas Wood Thomas, only with this strange Animal Park bunting, and of course there's that logo with an animal, which I think that's an elephant. Yeah, that is an elephant. Why was I saying I thought it was? But anyway, actually, I'll just get that standard Thomas Wood Thomas just for comparison. There you go. Of course, it probably goes without saying, but even though I really find this unpainted style to be quite confusing, I've kept all my original 2018 Thomas Wood stuff as just general curiosity, really. I mean, I would say curiosity killed the cat, but she's over there on the floor, just lying there for some reason, and she's still alive, of course, so the whole phrase about curiosity killed the cat is complete nonsense. Anyway, as for other stuff you get in this set, hold on, let's get in there. Sorry about the awkward, I don't know if awkward gestures is the right term, but anyway, yes, this isn't scripted, of course, I'm just going off the cuff, but as I was saying, so you don't really get that much stuff with this set, which is hardly surprising because it's just a starter set, but in terms of accessories, you really only got 2 items. There's this sign, which just says, Shoutout Animal Park, and, oh, I did not realise that it was only printed on one side. Mind you, it doesn't surprise me because Mattel seem to really like to skimp out on something as simple as printed details. If this was like an accessory from the original Thomas Wooden Railway, this would, like, I'm pretty sure this would, no pun intended, have printing on both sides and be painted all round. As for the artwork on here, I'm not sure what it's meant to represent. Although that track layout that's depicted on the map just looks like it, or reminds me of a basic Hornby train set. As for the only other accessory, you get this, which I think is supposed to be a zebra, but the moulding looks like a horse or a pony or a donkey. Doesn't really look much like a zebra, but don't quote me on that because I'm not an animal expert, of course. And in terms of like functionality, the only thing this guy's got is that he can pitch his head up and down, so you can make it look like he's going up to an overrated English band from the 90s, in other words, an oasis, and having a drink of water. Of course, in this case, an oasis, I think, would just be a pond in the desert or something. Oh, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I was going with that joke, but anyway, I can't tell whether this thing is made of wood or plastic. Because the irony with Thomas Wood is that, like, the Thomas Wood range, not the Wooden Railway, like specifically Thomas and Friends Wood, like post 2018. The irony with it is that despite the fact that a lot of the marketing was to do with was all about how they were made with real wood, a lot of it was actually real plastic. Case in point, this rather strange bridge piece. This thing is literally all plastic, which to me does not make sense in the slightest. If this was like an original like Thomas Wooden Railway item, I think the track would be wood, or would still be wood, but the bridge girder detailing would be plastic. At least that's how it was in the original Sodor Bay Bridge, which I don't think I've got that anymore. I mean, I've got the original track from it. That's what the wooden James is sitting on, but the bridge girder, everything else is long gone. Okay, the first thing I noticed from this Animal Park detail is that like silhouette of a steam locomotive puffing by in the background. As for what locomotive it is, hold on. Just looks like Thomas, like a silhouette of Thomas to me. And what's really strange is that I can't remember if XTremeTrainz pointed this out or not, or maybe he did and I just don't remember. Despite the fact that this thing is all plastic, it looks like it's got little flecks of wood, like little specks of wood molded into the plastic. And to me, that just looks weird. It's like you should have made it entirely out of wood instead of just being lazy. There's probably a lot of other words I could use to describe the Thomas Wood line, but I won't for the purposes of this video. Next thing is this wagon. I have never owned any, well, not counting the Scruffy from the Dynamite Ryan 2-pack, I've never owned any like generic Thomas Wood rolling stock. That should say Animal Wagon. We're not Americans. We call them wagons here, although that's probably just a generic thing they've used for worldwide release of it. But this is another strange piece because the only part of it that's wood is like the underside, or like the frame, for want of a better word. This top piece, or the body shell, this is like the same plastic for that strange bridge piece, where it is plastic, but it's got the strange wood flecks in it. Now, as for this opening hatch at one end, not sure why it's designed that way. Especially when I think you're meant to put in the animal thing in like this, and yeah, I'm not sure how that's supposed to play out. But there's also these I'm surprised that, well, considering this is a second-hand set, I'm surprised that it retains these really weird adapter pieces. And again, Thomas and Friends would, but yet these things are entirely plastic. Not to mention that they're hollow. I'm thinking, Mattel, surely you lot could have done so much better than this rubbish. But the only thing that these things really serve is to connect the old TWR track to Thomas Wood. Now, this is probably the most interesting part of it for me, because I've never had any Thomas Wood track when it was brand new, because I thought I'll just use my original wooden railway track, because I've still got some of it from when I was younger. And well, plus from what I've heard about this track is that it was really quite naff in comparison to the older stuff. It's certainly a tighter radius for curved track, as far as I can tell, and this design of connection, what on earth were Mattel playing at? Like, even the really, really generic stuff that you can get at Kmart for, like, I don't know, a tenner or a fiver, whatever it is. Even that really generic stuff uses the same standard track connector that the like this design. Every generic set, and of course the TWR, used that style of connector piece. So why Mattel felt it necessary to change it to this, I have no sodding clue. Which is like fictional Cockney rhyming slang for shocking blue, which was a Dutch band from the late 1960s and into the 70s. Anyway, I think I'll pause and restart the recording again, because it's getting close to the 10-minute limit, and we'll see how the set looks when it's all set up. No pun intended. Well, I suppose it would be, but pun intended anyway. See you in a bit. And there you have it. That is the 2018 Thomas Wood Animal Park set, all good to go. It really is that basic, folks. As I say, I don't remember what the original price would have been, but I think basically 10 cents shy of $35 was... I would consider that an acceptable price, in all honesty. I remember, I think in XTremeTrainz' video, he did point out how ludicrously expensive the set was for what you get, but as I say, I can't remember what the original price was, although I think in his case he would have been quoting Australian dollars. The first thing I've noticed in terms of how this set looks when it's all put together is that there's nowhere for the adapter pieces to go, and yeah, that's just really confusing, because I would have thought Mattel would either leave those out or work out a way of including them where they would make some decent contribution to the size of the track, or the length of the track rather. Now, one other thing I've noticed is that the layout, well, obviously aside from being very tiny, the colour of the wood just appears to be a bit off, because like there's this curve in particular. I think that is like a darker shade of wood than all the other pieces, and I always find that strange how in this Thomas Wood line it was quite inconsistent. The colour of well, not necessarily the colour, but rather the shade of the wood was quite different, and it wasn't really all that consistent. But anyway, I suppose I'll give this strange Animal Park Thomas a run. Well, if you can really call it a run, but you'll see how he goes, because as I say, I've never had Thomas Wood track until I went to that shop at Mount Maunganui the other day, so if anything, this will be a bit of a learning experience for me. So let's see how it goes. Well, the first thing I can say is that it feels like there's a lot of resistance and friction when you try to move this thing around corners. And perhaps that's why they shrunk the size of the engines to all be the size of like small tank engines. Because I think if it was a longer wheelbase, like what you would see on the original Wooden Railway Gordon or Spencer or one of those other larger tender engines, they would really struggle on curves this tight. And actually, for comparison, and hold on, let's just see how tight Thomas Wood is compared to TWR. Trying to line them up as best as I can, but yeah, there is quite a substantial difference. The Thomas Wood stuff is a much tighter curve, and with the old TWR stuff, you need 4 pieces of curved track to make a half circle, but with Thomas Wood, you only need 3. And yeah, I really don't understand why Mattel redesigned it in that way. Because if anything, I reckon they should have stuck with the original TWR track, although for all we know, that might have been too costly to make. And so, yes, now that we've pretty much come to the end of the showcase of the stuff I got at the mounts, in all honesty, there's not really that much else I can think of to bring up. But although, if I can do this right, like in one shot, and we'll just move him out of the way, and for comparison's sake, there's my other 3 wooden Thomases. So there's the 2003 Wooden Railway version, normal 2018 Thomas Wood, and 2019 Thomas Wood with where it's now fully painted. And in all honesty, I still think it's quite bizarre that I've ended up with this many wooden Thomases, but well, I think as for why I've still got the Thomas Wood stuff, even though it is pretty ugly, I just got it for general curiosity. Hold on, what's the cat doing? Maggie, what are you doing? You can't scratch that chair. It's a special one. Anyway, so yeah, this is a very strange outro because I can't really think of how to word it properly. So I'll take those away and try to bring the other 3 items in. Hold on. Yes, so before I go, I might as well just say thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Well, it's not really quick, but I still hope you've enjoyed this look at the 4 Thomas items that I was able to get from the shop the other day. And if you are in the area and you want to get Thomas stuff, it's worth checking out that shop, which by the way is called 0 to 5, and it's on Totara Street, which coincidentally is the same one as a massive KiwiRail yard, which is the end of the Mount Maunganui branch. Alright, not much else I can think of to say now, so yeah, so once again, thank you for watching, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time. Maggie, do you mind not scratching the chairs?